I believe Islamic Republic as we know it is dead, without a doubt.
People care about Iran. Obviously, we want zero death, zero destruction, but we need to keep the conversation relevant. We need to keep pressing these officials. We need to keep doing stories about Iran.
We've seen that, with the kind of state and governance failure that has been materializing over the last 1 or 2 years, this process of dying is much clearer.
So your hope for Iranians in 2026 is safety and continued hope. Your hope is hope.
My hope is hope. Exactly. Because I think once we lose that, then really we've got nothing else.
Inside Iran, our kids don't get that same opportunity.
My fear is that some people rush the decision of moving to another country without proper planning.
My fear is that there is not only no revolution, but no evolution, and in fact, no solution. That's my biggest fear.
Enjoy life, see the glass half full, and more importantly, have faith and trust that the best is yet to come.
Well, hi there, salam dostan aziz. It's the precipice of a new year, and there's something we need to make clear. Dear Western media, time to wake up. The Iranian people are rising again. We cannot know exactly where this round of rebellion is going. Predictions are generally futile, fortune-telling dressed up as knowing. But there's one message the Iranian people continue to send. The Islamic Republic regime is going to come to an end. And the widespread defiant and brave protests we've seen in Iran over the last few days have confirmed something many knew all along, that the narratives of much of the world's press have been wrong. Dear Western media, time to wake up. The Iranian people are rising again. And what is it that you're saying, the Times of the UK, when you frame this as economic unrest at play? It's a familiar storyline coming from your team, but it's pretty much the one used by the Islamic Republic regime. Oh, it's a line parroted by Reuters, The Guardian, various Canadian organs too, that what we're witnessing is merely hardship and anxiety breaking through, as if this were orderly, contained, transactional, like a trade union strike in Calgary, rational. The idea is to minimize Iranian insurrections as they're in mid-flow, doing the bidding of nations and actors who wish for the status quo. Not quite. Let's get this right. What inflation protests chants death to the dictator into the night? It might be conceivable this were a cost of living grievance to be if the people in the streets were not calling for the head of Khamenei. Dear Western media, time to wake up. The Iranian people are rising again. We saw you this month, The Economist, the BBC, selling softness, moderation, diplomacy, suggesting hijabs recede and obedience is born. Perhaps you bought the narrative that the people want reform? Really? Listen to the slogans, listen to the song. The pundits, editorialists, and reformists would be wrong. The Iranian people are aching for change, full-scale change. Not cosmetic shifts, not adjustments, not mullahs to rearrange, not talks, not smiles, not nuclear deals rerun. They are done with the system, every pillar, every one. Dear Western media, time to wake up. The Iranian people are rising again. And you've been buying the line that there are no popular opposition figures. For example, was it not you, Newsweek, echoing that Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi does not have any influence inside Iran? You're not alone, but it seems some Iranian people don't feel the same, since they're out in the streets chanting his name. And whether it's Pahlavi or someone yet unknown, that's not even the central point being shown. There is a hunger to end this regime, to reclaim governance, dignity, and elevation for a beautiful, poetic country that has endured 5 decades of devastation. Dear Western media, time to wake up. The Iranian people are rising again. We get it. There are no student encampments for you to live stream, no shopping mall protests to make it trend, no easy Western analogies to make this tidy and fair. But listen to Iranians inside Iran if you dare. Despite years of brutality, prisons, graves, despite apathy abroad and power that enables, the Iranian people continue to show resolve, courage, and an unbroken will to say, we are done with mullahs, done with repression, done with fear as a governing profession. Dear Western media, time to wake up. The end of the Islamic Republic is coming, not if, but when the Iranian people are rising again. It's January 1st, 2026. This is Roqe. Hi there, welcome to episode 403 of Roqe. Happy New Year. I'm Jian Ghomeshi. Hello to you from Toronto. Salam dostan aziz, durud bar shama, sal no mubarak. Hope you are doing well wherever you're tuning in from around the world. It's a new year, and New Year's provide a moment to reflect on the past and project into the future. And that's relevant because I am now recording this on New Year's Eve. So you are in the future if you're watching this on New Year's Day or beyond. This was recorded a day before New Year's, even though we're posting it on New Year's Day. And a few days ago, we recorded this full episode where we have assembled a brilliant group of prominent Iranians from around the world to talk about hopes, fears, and resolutions for Iranians in 2026. But as you know, that was a few days ago, was a long time in Iranian events, in the Iranian events calendar. So this was before the current protests that have taken place in Iran and captured the imagination of Iranians around the world. So we recorded all these interviews, and then right after that, people took to the streets in Iran, and it's been a provocative, exciting, inspirational, sometimes worrisome situation in Iran where people are rising against the regime. The precipitant being the tuman, the cost of the cash there and the cost of living, but of course this spreading to, as I was saying in the opening essay there, to underscore the general discontent with the regime there and the desire for change that Iranians have been echoing both inside and outside of Iran for decades now. So all of that's happening, as you know. You're probably, if you're Iranian or you like Iranian content because you're watching Roqe and listening to us, you know this has been happening in Iran. That happened, and we were thinking, okay, we need to be clear that the interviews you are about to watch, most of which, by the way, remain very timely and relevant, because they're about this subject, but they were recorded a few days ago, and the participants should be forgiven if they're not directly responding to the events of the last 3 days in Iran. That said, we've got an amazing list of prominent figures in this episode, so take that into consideration. Andy Madadian, Andy, in Los Angeles, Alina Shirazi in Washington, D.C., Ali Fatullah Nejad in Berlin, Bijan Kian in California, Nazanin Ansari in London, Tehran in Los Angeles, Sherry Kazemi in Vancouver, and our very own Pegah Ganji in Toronto. That's all coming up on this episode. These prominent Iranians, some Iranian Canadians, me and Pegah, giving you their thoughts, their aspirations, their hopes, their fears, and their resolutions for the coming year. And like I say, some of what you're about to see is prophetic. Someone like Bijan Kian talking about what he hopes to see and what he fears, and you can just play this as you're watching or consuming what's happening in Iran right now. Happy New Year to you. We're going to get to all of those. Before we do that, I should mention on this New Year's Day that Roqe Live is coming. I've been announcing Roqe Live. It has been announced. Tickets are now available. It's Thursday, February 19th, 2026. This is Roqe Live 6. So we do this show, this podcast, this YouTube and podcast show in front of a live audience. This time, once again, at the Richmond Hill Center for the Performing Arts in the heart of Richmond Hill. If you're not from the greater Toronto area, it's the Shomal of Toronto. It's just north of Toronto, and it's a big theater, and it's where we did Roqe Live 5. We're back there for Roqe Live 6. We encourage you to come to Toronto for this if you haven't been to this city yet and you haven't experienced the new epicenter of Persian diaspora, Iranian diaspora. Shahram Shapare, Tina Parsa, Kaveh Madani, Ehsan Karami, Shali Zomarodi, DJ Al, Ghazal Piano, Pegah Ganji, and of course we'll be giving the Roqe Media Icon Award to Shahram Shahpareh. I would suspect that if what is continuing, what is going on in Iran right now continues, or however it's shape-shifted by this state, it is something that we'll be referencing or maybe even paying tribute to that night as well. Tickets are available now. If you want tickets to Roqe Live 6, this is how you do it. Go to our Instagram page, Roqe Media, at Roqe Media, and in the bio of the Instagram page, there's a link that'll take you to the tickets for Roqe Live 6. You can also try the Richmond Hill Center for the Performing Arts website, but it's probably easiest to do it through Instagram, and check out our stories on Insta as well. All right, let's get to this New Year's episode. Hopes, fears, and resolutions for Iranians for 2026. Today's episode of Roqe is brought to you in part by Stellar Law. Stellar Law is a boutique litigation firm in Toronto led by its founder and principal lawyer Rana Nosrat Panah. The firm operates on a simple premise: complex disputes demand disciplined thinking and meticulous preparation. Representing both individuals and businesses, the team handles commercial conflicts, criminal matters, sensitive personal or financial disputes with a measured analytical approach. Clients turn to Stellar Law for creative strategy, direct guidance, advocacy that is as practical as it is exacting. Rana and her team are known for distilling intricate issues into decisive action, navigating high-stakes matters with discretion, focus, and unwavering professionalism. For clients seeking representation grounded in judgment, rigor, and strategic clarity, Stellar Law offers something increasingly rare: a litigation practice built on preparation, trust, and results. You can also speak to them in Persian or in English. Check out Stellar Law at stellarlaw.ca on Instagram, at stellarlaw.ca. Thanks again to Rana Nosrat and the team at Stellar Law. All right, here we go. Let's get to our first featured guest for this special New Year's Day edition of Roqe, where we will be going around the world talking to people, different prominent Iranians. But let's start in Los Angeles. And who better to begin with than an Iranian legend, a cultural touchstone, a diasporic darling, a musical juggernaut with a kind soul and a mischievous smile. For over 4 decades, his voice has been the soundtrack to our parties, our heartbreaks, our weddings, our drives down the Pacific coast, our late night nostalgias. Joining us from LA is Andy Madadian, the one and only. Hello, sir. Happy New Year to you.
Hi, Jian John. How are you? Happy New Year to you.
I have to start by saying congratulations. You've just, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, you just received the Lifetime Achievement Award at the Armenian Music Awards. Well deserved, of course. Congrats.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, it was a great honor for me because, Armenians are way into music. They have hundreds and thousands of artists, and it was an honor that they picked an Armenian from Iran. So you see, for me, everywhere I go, as an Iranian, I have this plus carrier coming with me, and I'm just so proud of it.
We're proud of you, Andy.
Thank you, man.
I'm going to be asking all of the folks on this special episode similar questions, and I'm going to be asking about your hopes and fears for Iranians for 2026. But let me start with this. How would you characterize, and you can answer this question any way you wish, how would you characterize the past year, 2025, for your Iranian sisters and brothers around the world and in Iran?
Well, I'll start with Iranians outside Iran, the Iranian diaspora. I saw and visited and met many, many successful Iranians, which tells me you give Iranians opportunity, they'll succeed. And that's the bottom line. Inside Iran, our kids don't get that same opportunity. Otherwise, we have 90 million Iranians inside Iran, and I bet you we have hundreds of thousands of smart entrepreneurs. If given the opportunity, they would excel. So I'm proud of the accomplishment outside Iran for sure. But as a rule, I speak to somebody in Iran every day because I work with musicians and producers, songwriters, lyricists. And overall, everybody said this year was an easier year for them because they had much more freedom as far as where they want to go, what they want to wear, and stuff like that. And yes, musically, of course, the government opened the door to concerts, and these might not sound big for us, but for them, after 45 years of no concerts and no music, this has been a great year for them. I'm just hoping that the feeling will be mutual for us, the diaspora artists. There is no reason why we cannot perform there. And of course, their artists come here and they perform here.
Those
And
openings.
interestingly enough, that our government here in US will not give visas to average Iranian to come here, but they will give their artists to come and perform here.
Yeah.
Isn't that a weird
So that's a
coincidence?
bit of a strange paradox. I mean, the openings that you talk about in the concerts, of course, are also balanced off by the water bankruptcy and the energy crisis and the economic difficulties and the executions that have been
Yes.
continuing. So it's you have to always navigate through this when you're talking about especially in this period of the last 46 years, right?
Right. Well, as you know me well, I try to stick to the art and culture side of everything, and then I stick to the cup half full.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'm grateful that at least some good musicians in Iran get the opportunity to get on the stage and perform and record. So that's a plus.
That's an amazing thing. You're right. And what would you, if I were to staying with the glass half full, what would your greatest hope be? It's the first day of the year here for 2026. What is your greatest hope for Iranians? Again, defined however you wish.
Well, now I have to step into the political realm of Iran, which I have kind of not done it for 45 years. But since you know, I'm a freak for news and I follow every happenings throughout the world. My opinion would be more freedom for the art and culture and writers, people in cinema, and that would be another stepping stone. I I take what I can get because if I wish for more than that, then it might upset some people to stop even this one step at a time. So I'll be grateful for what we had last year and some more of that next year.
What about for the Iranian community that you see, say, in LA, for your fellow Iranians and the diaspora Iranian Americans? What's your greatest hope?
Do not forget that the only way Iranian art and culture survived is because we collectively went out and bought it, went to the concerts, supported by advertisements on Iranian TVs and social medias. Let's not forget that America is the melting pot, and we can easily get resolved into that melting pot and forget. I'm saying let's hold on to the beauty that America has given to us, which is freedom, but let's not forget our Iranian art and culture, because we have a beautiful one. We have held on to it for 45 years. Let's hold on to it a few more years until we're able to continue this inside Iran.
Another way of saying that to me, you're saying you would your hope for 2026 is that you see continued or even increased support from the diaspora for Iranian artists and cultural creators, whether outside of Iran or inside. Yes.
I'm just saying, imagine, Jian, we have Iranian billionaire entrepreneurs. They invest in many different startup companies, successful companies, Tesla and everything, but nothing in the art and culture.
Yeah.
There's not one entrepreneur who says, hey, I'm going to produce a brilliant Iranian album. Because we have the promoters, we have the producers, we have the artists, we have the means. We don't have the budget for it.
Because it's not in the cultural DNA, because there's no tradition of doing that, especially over the last 50 years.
Yeah. Exactly. And in the 45 years, we have learned a lot of westernized styles of we help each other to succeed, and we're doing great. We just need more of that. We have to look inward a little bit more.
Aren't you prominent enough as our star of Walk of Fame person and our legend? Aren't you the guy who can get on the phone with some of these billionaires and have a talking to with them?
You are absolutely right, and I have done that. My issue is I have never asked anything for myself, and because I'm general, saying the industry, there isn't that much interest, because in actuality, that industry is not going to make money, because we're on social media, we're on Radio Javan, we're on Spotify for free. So there's not good business for the entrepreneur to come and invest in it. But that one entrepreneur who says, I'm going to do it for my culture, I'm going to do it for my people, and I'm not looking for money. That one entrepreneur is going to change the course of Iranian art.
It's beautifully said. I mean, I know you've said you're a cup half full kind of guy, but what would be your greatest fear, since we've titled the episode Hopes, Fears, and Resolutions? What would be your greatest fear for the Iranian community around the world for 2026?
Very obvious that our kids are exposed to great American westernized music, cinema, and they are dissolving into that culture, and they're becoming some of the most prominent creators of Hollywood, and they're not looking back. So my fear is our next generation, we are probably last of Mohicans, because our next generation is dissolved into the diaspora, and they're going to become their own giants of westernized art.
What an interesting fear, and a profound one. The fear of the dissolution, of the loss of Iranian culture, as with given the embrace of Western culture and because it's omnipresent even inside Iran, right? I mean, it's definitely involved. It's finding its way into Iranian music, whether it's hip hop or pop or whatever the Western influences. And so, how do you balance maintaining the tradition? And it's so. I always remember this when I get to talk to you, and I remember how great a beacon you are of this. You know, even though you're in LA, you've been in America for 40 or 50 years, you're the one who's sitting there saying, "Hey guys, let's not forget about our traditions and culture." And you seem to be able to walk both those sides of
takes a lot of work.
Being in the Azizam video, but at the same time making sure people understand what Azizam means.
Azizam was a great step into bringing up the Iranian music and culture into the world scene, and nobody could have done it. I couldn't do it. No Iranian artist could do what Ed Sheeran did for our music and for our culture and for our people. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to be in the song, in the video. And the funny thing is, a lot of people, before they heard the news, they could hear me in the track, and they would say, "Oh, are you in this song?" And I would gladly say, "Of course, I'm a small part of this." I'm just so excited about it, and I'm excited about how successful Ed was this year. And I keep thinking, well, we were part of it, you know? It's a great feeling.
It's really nice. Listen, before I let you go, I have to ask you now, first of all, I'm curious whether you're the type of guy who at New Year's time, whether it's this New Year or whether it's Nowruz time, whether you're someone who makes resolutions. Are you the kind of person who uses this date as a reset and makes goals for the coming year?
If I want to be honest, no. I think it's a nice game and conversation piece for friends. I'm not, because quite honestly, I am constantly reviving myself and I'm constantly challenging myself. I don't need to set January 1st to challenge myself. I'm always challenging myself. I want to do more songs. I want to play more soccer. I want to see my friends more often. I want to spend more time with my dogs. So I'm constantly January 1st in my life.
I see. I thought it was going to be the opposite. I thought your resolution was going to be to channel Diego Maradona more on the pitch than you currently do.
I would have. I would have if he was around. Yes.
Do you have a personal, how about it, we don't call it a resolution. Do you have something that you know for this coming year that you want to accomplish?
Yes, I want to make more music.
Well, that would be something that we would all love. And that's something that you can do. That's not a difficult resolution. That's not going to the gym every day. You can do the music part, right?
Yes, but since you are a very deep person, and this question brings us back to the, I don't want to say evolution, but survival of Iranian music. Remember, there is only 5, 6 artists like me, Iranians, who are working, making enough money to produce new music to give to people for free. And how long can we do this before we are also gone? So I don't have a wealth. I don't have backers. I don't have sponsors. There is no record company who would give us budget to do new music. I have to go to work and create wealth to produce new music so people can take it for free. So do you see the dilemma we have here? So in other words, it's not that easy to say, hey, I can write. I wrote and produced hundreds of music. Why can't I do it now? Because there was a time that people paid for it and there were record companies who supported artists. Now there is no record company. People buy music for free because it's online, and it's all up to me and you to go to work, generate money to bring it to the studio, record new stuff to give away for free.
You know, I'm actually really grateful to you for going there in terms of you took what was kind of a perfunctory or superficial question about a resolution, and you're making an important point. I'll use this opportunity to share a quick anecdote, which is that, which I think you'll be able to relate to and speak to perhaps, which is that in the recent weeks I've been contacted by a group, I think a very well-intentioned and wonderful group of Iranian American academics and tech folks, business folks, who are putting together a big sort of conference or summit, or I think it might be in California in the coming year. And they said they want it to be about and for successful Iranians, celebrating the success of Iranians, and they shared all of the different groups of that they want to celebrate via awards or panel discussions, and it was engineers and doctors and business folks and tech folks and even sports. And there was nothing, no arts and culture. And I asked at one of the meetings, I said, is this by intent that you've got, it's not, it's not even on the agenda,
Right.
anything sort of from the creative class of Iranians.
Right.
And they kind of said, no, we're all, we're engineers and tech people, and we don't think about that. Good point.
Right.
Good point. Thanks for bringing it up. But I mean, that's the problem, right? It's
Right.
literally not even on the agenda for an Iranian conference about success. Wonderful
Right.
people. I'm not taking anything away from them. But that's our challenge, right?
Yes, it is. And Jian, just because it's New Year, with positive energy. I don't want our conversation to be about money in my pocket or our pocket. I want the conversation to be we are fighting hard to survive as Iranian diaspora musicians, but I have a great life. I'm not complaining. I have a beautiful life. I go perform all over the world. I see Iranians face to face. I sing for them. I make them happy. They pay for it. I have a good life. I have a home. I have food. I have dogs. I have horses. I have great friends like you. So I'm not complaining at all. And I'm not asking for more. I got everything I wanted. I am worried about the industry. The Titanic of the Iranian industry is sinking unless some brilliant Iranian wealthy entrepreneurs come in and say, hey, what can I do to help revive Iranian music, diaspora and inland? Then the Titanic can be saved.
I'm grateful for you. I'm wishing you and the family and the horses and the dogs in particular a really wonderful year ahead. And خیلی دوست داریم. We hope to see more of you here in Toronto and everywhere in the world. And thank you for doing this today. Happy New Year.
Thank you so much. And I will see you for Persian New Year. Farbardin, 21 March. I'll see you in Toronto.
Looking forward to it. Merci, brother.
Thank you, Jian.
Khodafis. All right, let's go to Washington, D.C. for our next guest. With over a decade of experience in journalism, Elina Shirazi has reported from the White House, the Congress, the Pentagon, major space launches. Her strong command of national affairs is complemented by her multilingual skills. Fluent in Farsi, with working knowledge of French and Spanish, she connects with diverse communities and delivers informed, impactful reporting, securing interviews with politicians, world leaders, CEOs, and royalty. Joining me now from Washington, D.C., Elina Shirazi. Happy New Year. Hi.
Hi, Jian. Happy New Year to you, too. Thank you. That was a beautiful introduction.
This is your life. It's nice to have you on the show for the first time. I appreciate the work that you do. Tell me how you, you're on the front lines of it, but you're also personally Iranian and involved. How would you characterize this past year for Iranians before we get to your hopes and fears?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that this was honestly a watershed moment for Iranians, for the people, because we really saw, people in masses just, take to the streets, really speak up. I think, especially as someone whose parents are immigrants, a lot of, our family members say, don't touch this topic, don't touch politics, don't touch reporting. When I wanted to go into reporting, there was a little bit of hesitancy there, right? Because of, a lot of the censorship that we see in the country. And so there is that fear factor. But I think this year, to your point, we have seen really that mold being broken. And I think that does transition well into my hopes for Iranians.
Hang on a second. You feel like this year was more of a watershed than, say, 2022 with the women life freedom protests, etc.?
I think so. I think, it's just a snowball effect. I think that was, a huge moment in history. But I think that, it's a combination of factors. I think over time, we've really built this courage, and that's come from the immigrant community, from the expatriate community, but really from a lot of people that are inside Iran. And I think we've seen that a lot of people this year, when Operation Midnight Hammer happened, reach out to me, a lot of Iranians. They were afraid for what was happening, but they had that hope that something would change. And I think that with that hope, you really have nothing. And so that's important. It's very important.
It's interesting. I'm not necessarily, when I ask how would you characterize the past year, I don't necessarily intend it to be in a political lens, but you answered it that way. Is it possible to answer it any other way for you?
I don't know. I think for me as a journalist, a lot of what I do is try and ask tough questions. in the White House, in the State Department, and press and push politicians. But for me as a journalist, the reason why I got into this was because of the people. And for me, that's the most important thing. And I think it takes precedent over policy. I think the reason why, Jian, you and I are doing this job is not just to talk about politics, but it's really about impacting people we know, because we hope to do better good for our country, for Canadians, for Americans.
But you
really
talked
for the
about but you talked about change for Iranians. You didn't talk about you didn't reflect on the year in how food trends might have changed, or whether people are wearing baggy jeans or not. You sort of went straight to is this to the existential question of is are we going to have change for Iranians, presumably inside Iran, affecting all of us outside of Iran? That was interesting to me.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of what I deal with on a daily basis. And it's a lot of what I'm trying to get answers for, a lot of what I hear in briefings, a lot of what I speak to politicians about. And so I think that's been really the biggest dialogue in my mind the past few years.
Do you find that I don't want to get too off topic for your hopes and fears, but just because I have you here on that topic, and because you're in the epicenter of the American political game, do you find that American politicians are more attuned to, for example, the notion that Iranian people are fed up with reform and want to see an end to the regime, that type of thing? When we hear about a new deal and all this type of stuff, do you feel like American politicians that you speak to are more attuned to where Iranians around the world are at these days, or less so?
More so. And it's because of a lot of us speaking up about the topic. A lot of politicians that I speak to, the first thing they say to me is, I know what we see in the news and I know the relationship between Iran and the US, but I have to say the Iranian people are magnificent. They're bright, they're smart. They've made so much progress in the world in all different types of industries. And they always make a point to say that to me. So I don't think that's something that they're not doing deliberately. I think that with more and more of these reports and humanitarian stories that we're doing as well, that I try and do as well, I think that they are able to sort of separate the two, and I think that helps the Iranian people's plight, and their fight in general.
Okay, let's get to your greatest hope for Iranians. It's the first day of the year. What is your greatest hope for Iranians for 2026?
I have a lot of hope for Iranians, Jian. I think in 2026, I hope that we continue moving the dial on the progress that we have made for our country, especially people living in Iran. We've had so many brave moments, over the past few years, and a lot of them were also women. You mentioned Mahsa Amini. They've inspired a lot of us to do, I believe, more on our own platforms, in our own ways, in our own capacities, in our own industries. And, I think we take for granted a lot of times the freedoms that we have that a lot of people still don't in countries like Iran and other highly censored countries as well. And as I mentioned to you earlier, I think we've seen one of the most consequential political developments right now in Iran. It hasn't toppled the Islamic Republic, and it might not, anytime soon. But still, I think that Iranian society as a whole has changed in a lot of ways that shape the political future. And I hope that Iranians, they'll continue to help each other, take back their country and, live well, be happy, be safe. They deserve that.
If you were to predict, would you say 2026 will be a year of inflection? Will something big will happen when it comes to Iran?
I hope so, but this also goes into my fears about Iran. To be quite candid with you, Jian, I think that if we aren't in the headlines every day, if there isn't an Israeli or U.S. operation or bombings or strikes, I'm afraid that the plight of the Iranian people, our struggles, will be forgotten. Someone the other day mentioned to me, Iran right now is frozen because there's just, we haven't really been dominating the headlines in that way. And like you mentioned, the water crisis, the food crisis, the economy, those are all very important things. And you just don't see that as much. in the media, even though it should be. And I say that as a reporter. I report the news, but there's always, as I mentioned earlier, the human component to that. So I'm worried, back in Operation Midnight Hammer, Netanyahu, Trump, every government said, we want to liberate the Iranian people. So, where is that? And, why isn't that still a topic right now? That's my fear.
So it's quite counterintuitive. Your fear is for Iran, for the Islamic Republic to not be in the headlines. I remember a time when I was a kid growing up, especially in, post-revolution, hostage crisis, all of that, we would just pray each day for Iran to not be in the headlines because it was always negative. Not that it's gotten that much better, but it's an interesting point. You want Iran to be in the headlines. You want Iran to be so that people sort of stay on top of this, especially non-Iranians around the world, huh?
The only time that I can sit and press officials about Iran and explain the situation is when there is something happening, when people care about Iran. Obviously, we want zero death, zero destruction, but we need to keep the conversation relevant. We need to keep pressing these officials. We need to keep doing stories about Iran, and it shouldn't be, a horrible campaign, a military campaign that gets us talking about these issues. And I know that there's so much to worry about, as Americans, when you're looking at the Iran-US relationship, but it shouldn't just be when it's beneficial, when we're talking about oil, when we're talking about, things that countries can benefit off of. We really should be talking about humanity. I think that's the most important discussion.
Okay, finally, on a personal level. Do you normally do resolutions?
I do resolutions, but I think my resolutions are sort of the same every year. But this year, since I'm making a commitment to you,
yes,
I'm going to follow through with them for sure.
Oh, you have more than one?
Of course, I have a lot of resolutions. I actually write them out every year. I write them out, and then you know what? Sometimes they take 2 years or 3 years to accomplish. But the list is coming together.
All right, give me one. Give me a primary one.
I have a work one, and I have a work personal one, and then a personal one. So I'll give you the personal one first. I want to be able to have, a better work-life balance.
The personal one was about work?
Well, I put life in there. I want to have a better work-life balance. I want to spend time with, my family and, people that matter to me. I think that's important. Also for health, I think that's huge. Taking time, to go take care of yourself, to eat right, to go to the gym, to just be mentally, sound. And I think that's so important, even in all aspects of life. You have to feel good.
You got to narrow this shit down. That's way too esoteric. I need some.
You haven't even seen the rest of the list. This is just one thing.
You're just like, I want to have a better. I need something unique. I mean, you're never gonna fall. I think it needs to be something very specific. I think you need to be like, I am going to shut off my work computer by 7 p.m. each day, like that type of thing. I think it needs to be, not that I should be coaching you on your resolutions. I mean, but don't you think? I mean, yeah, if you just sort of make it this esoteric thing, you're never going to, I don't know.
It's true. Maybe I'll do a no phones. I just can't do that though, because I feel like I have to always be plugged in.
Your resolutions are a mess.
They're a mess. You know what? But
it's the first day of the year.
You know what? I'm going to do something where I have a couple hours at night where I completely put my phone away, because then people will know, hey, she's not reachable at this, from X hour to Y hour. So I think that's going to work for me.
Do you think you can do that?
I think I can do that.
It's
absolutely.
So
I've already tried doing that. It's tempting, to just go and see what's going on, but the world goes on without you. That's what I've realized.
You know what's a crazy one too? I started doing this recently, is to not check your phone the moment you wake up.
Yes.
It's crazy. If you wait half an hour or an hour and do some things and then check it, it's so much better. It's like it's complete. It's huge. You wouldn't believe it. I've tried.
Yeah, you do. You need a moment for your eyes to just adjust and then just wake up. Okay, here's something I'll do. This is what I told myself I would do.
We're still on the resolutions?
We're still on the resolutions. I'm going to have a cup of water with a lemon. I'm going to drink that every day, no phone, and then I'll get into the phone in 20 minutes.
Okay, wait. So is that a real resolution?
It's a real solution.
Okay, so
you said less esoteric, so I'm giving you specifics.
You're going to have some water with lemon in the
Yes.
in the morning or at night?
Morning. It's
first
good for
thing,
you. It's good
and then I bet I'll check in with you on this in a few months. If you can follow through with this, it'll change your life.
I think this lemon water might change my life.
The lemon water was a new addition. But that's great. I like the lemon water. I was just thinking,
picture of it.
Somebody. The reason I started doing this is somebody said the first thing you can do this maybe in DC. It's a little harder to do in Toronto, but is first if you can when you get up, go outside.
Yes.
Like go
for a quick. Right now.
I know. But go for a quick walk away before you check your phone. Like go splash water on your face, brush your teeth, whatever, and then go outside. I think it's so cool. I tried doing it, and then the phone, and the cup of water with lemon.
I'll do it at the same time.
Happy New Year! Wonderful to have you on the show.
Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to you as well. And you know what? I do have that one work resolution I can tell you, and I think this one's important. I think I just as a woman too, right?
Okay.
I want to be able to fill up the space and not apologize. As a woman, as an Iranian, sometimes we tick people off with the stories that we do, right? So I just want to be able to say, hey, I'm not sorry. I'm doing this for the greater good of the people, freedom of the press, for journalism. It's been a bit of a difficult time with that, and I'm going to stick to that 2026 with my lemon water.
Good on you. That's a whole episode we could do on that. That's really interesting. Thank you for this. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Jen. Happy New Year to you too.
Bye-bye. This is Roqe, episode 403, Iranian hopes, fears, and resolutions for 2026. All right, let's go to Germany, Berlin, for our next guest, one of our favorites. He is a German-Iranian political scientist with an interest in Iran, the Middle East, and the post-unipolar world order. He received his doctorate in international relations from University of London and was the winner of a postdoctoral fellowship of the Harvard Kennedy School's Iran Project. He's also the former Iran expert of the Brookings Institute in Doha and the German Council on Foreign Relations. Right now, Ali Fatollah Nejad joins me from Berlin, Germany. Hello, sir. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, and glad to be with you.
Really nice to see you again. So I've been asking everybody the same questions, and I'll give them to you. First of all, how would you, and you can answer this any way you want, how would you characterize the last year, i.e. 2025, for Iranians?
Well, this past year has been tough for Iranians, the same way it has been tough the years before. But we've seen, heightened economic crisis with water and electricity shortages that have been undermining the livelihoods, of everyday life, basically. We've seen the aggravation of the economic crisis. We've seen the start of hyperinflation, actually, in Iran, with the inflation rate reaching 50% officially. And for those poorer households, of course, the inflation rate is much higher, given their basket of consumption, probably double that high. So there's a lot of economic pressure. There's a lot of political pressure. We have had the highest executions since probably 1989. So there's tremendous pressure from the regime on different components of Iran's civil society. And it's also a time of uncertainty because everyone knows that probably major changes are around the corner with Ali Khamenei, the longtime supreme leader of Iran, having lost his longtime authority as he was hiding in the bunker during the 12-day war with Israel. So a lot of changes are expected, but the direction is still unclear.
It's interesting, to the picture you paint. We have heard over the last year competing narratives, even in mainstream media. There's this sort of narrative of, things are moderating in Iran. There's an equilibrium being reached, and people are not wearing hijabs anymore. And then, of course, we hear the rates of executions and political prisoners and for a lot of people, some of the people who've already been on this program are saying, well, this is just another year in the last 46 years of difficulty and misery for Iranians. And then you have Iranians, some inside Iran, who sort of say, well, this is the way we're used to it at this point. Economic difficulty, water, energy, all of that. Do you characterize this as worse than the situation was before? And what do you think of those narratives that say the government is reforming or moderating somehow now?
I think the picture is quite multifaceted. And if we add to what I have said earlier, the aspects that you rightly mentioned, which is, for example, the fact that a lot of Iranian women do not anymore adhere to the hijab laws. So there is a kind of cultural revolution that we're seeing on the Iranian streets. So this has completely changed. It's surely a consequence from pressures from below for many, many years, for many decades, most recently with the Zan Zendegi Azadi uprising in 2022. But it's also a kind of decision by the top leadership. Do not forget that the so-called Supreme National Security Council has intervened at least twice to stop the implementation of a harsher hijab laws. And this is probably based on the calculation that you should not risk that the cattle of Iranian society gonna explode in your face. So you have to reduce some pressures regarding the hijab, while there is some other pressures, economic one, and you sustain other repressive measures as well. We've seen the arrest of prominent political economists and sociologists in Iran. So we see that the leadership, albeit in disarray, is very much concerned about its very survival. There are different factions within the regime that are competing to assume power in a post-Khamenei Iran. There's talk about a potential paradigm shift, but this talk is still very much blocked until really Khamenei leaves the scene. So in a nutshell, what we have seen over the years has reached a peak, namely the fact that the old is now, the old in Iran is dying, and the new cannot still emerge. So this has been the situation for years now. And we've seen that, with the kind of state and governance failure that has been materializing over the last 1 or 2 years, this process of dying is much clearer. But it remains to be seen in which direction we're going to go, if we're going to see the emergence of a new form of Iranian authoritarianism, perhaps with a mixed ideological bag where the nationalist element is going to be much more important than the Islamist one. So this is one real possibility of a new kind of Iranian authoritarianism emerging, pushed for by some of the current elites in order to keep the regime, surviving. And what that means basically is that they want to keep their privileges and their wealth that they have amassed to the detriment of society over decades. So they want to keep those privileges. Or are we going into a different direction, one that is desired by the bulk of Iranian society, one that is going towards democratization? So, and all of that will depend on the balance of forces within Iran, the balance of forces between different factions of the system on one hand, and on the other hand, the balance of forces between the authoritarian state and civil society on the other.
Okay. What a great summary. You're so good at this. And I really like the notion of, this sort of stalemate that's been playing out for, as you say, in recent years, between the old is dying off, but the new cannot yet emerge. And it's a guessing game as to we all know that something's going to change, but we don't know when or how exactly. So simply put, what is your greatest hope for Iranians in 2026?
Obviously that the many crises that are plaguing the everyday lives of Iranians going to be solved. And we have plenty of very important crises. I talk about a quadruple crisis that is structurally, so that is primarily homemade, a political crisis, which of course, would need a radical political transformation, an economic crisis that is very much linked, again, to the political field, because it's the same political elite that is monopolizing economic power. You have an ecological crisis, this kind of water bankruptcy, this kind of multifaceted environmental crisis that is again primarily a result of bad policy choices and vested interests, short-term profit interests of the elite. You have the gender discrimination that is multifaceted in Iran, so it's also socioeconomic. If you look at Iranian women's participation rate in the workplace and so forth. So you have all of that that are, all of those crises that are intimately linked to the political question. So the question of who runs this country. And of course, the desire, my hope would be the hope that is shared by lots of in Iranian society toward democratization in the true sense of the word, that would include both economic justice and political development. So the ideal scenario would be a scenario in which we're going to see both socioeconomic development and political development in tandem. But this has to be very much pushed for by society. And the challenge at the societal level is that the question of organization and leadership. And there's a lot of repression against civil society and its components organizing and identifying leaders to communicate their socioeconomic and political demands. And also there is a structural weakness when it comes, for instance, to the labor class in Iran, the bulk of which has irregular contracts. So it's really challenging for them to engage in longer periods of strikes that have been absolutely pivotal in breaking the economic neck of the Shah regime, if you think about the energy labor strikes back in the days. So I would wish that we're going to see some democratization, but it's not, a safe bet given the balance of forces.
If I were to ask your greatest fear, is it the status quo? Is it that nothing changes, or is it something worse?
I think, to be honest, my greatest fear would be that we're going to see a new form of Iranian authoritarianism that is being sanctioned, that is being supported by the West somehow, because they would believe that some parts of the current elite would serve the Western interests, but which would not be in the interests of the bulk of Iranian society. So a new kind of authoritarianism that still is very repressive inside, that tries to salvage the regime and its amassed wealth to the detriment of any kind of true democratization that is very much needed in Iran, also to solve the many problems, the many crises that have their roots in the Islamic Republic's misgovernance over the decades, but that are really threatening the very nation and the very country of Iran.
Ali, it's always a pleasure to have you on this program, and your well thought out, comprehensive answers to simple questions are appreciated. On a personal level, before I let you go, on a personal level, are you someone who does resolutions? Do you think of New Year's Day, a day like today, as a clean slate, and you're gonna start the year with some goals?
Well, normally I'm not, someone who does resolutions. Sometimes I do try, but I always forget them. But if you push me, my resolution would be, to pay much more attention to the issue of work and life balance. And this is especially a tricky one for a independent scholar that, like I am, working as a freelancer. But as is true with Iranians, fight for democracy for many, many decades. and also for a better system in Iran, for democracy in Iran to be established. This is, not a sprint but a marathon. So,
Do you have a first step in the in the marathon? Do you have a first step towards work-life balance?
we'll see. We'll see.
Oh, you haven't figured one out yet. You
Exactly.
it's got to start today. Letting
No, no, no.
yourself.
I don't want to bore you with that, but yeah, no, no. I've yeah. Hopefully, it's gonna be in this direction of a safer balance between the two.
It's a pleasure to see you. I'm always I could. There's so many questions I have for you, both about Iran, about the situation in Germany now, all kinds of things, and we have to have you back soon. Thank you for doing this. Happy New Year to you and your loved ones, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much. It's always my pleasure. I wish you all the best, and also to your loved ones a happy New Year. Thank you,
Merci.
Jian.
Khodafis.
Khudafis.
Today's edition of Roqe is brought to you in part by I Welcome. I Welcome is the one and only Iranian Canadian company in premier tour, travel, and limo transportation. I Welcome redefines every journey with a modern fleet and professional drivers, ensuring that whether you're enjoying a scenic city tour, traveling for business, or arriving in style at a special event, your experience is unmatched with comfort and reliability. With I Welcome, your ride becomes a luxurious extension of your lifestyle. I've had the pleasure of riding in one of the luxury cars that Amin and his team at I Welcome have in their fleet. And if you are anywhere in the Greater Toronto area, you must use them for your travel needs. You can find them at iwelcome.ca. Once again, that's iwelcome.ca. All right, let's go to California now for our next guest, one of our favorites. He is an experienced global business leader and former U.S. senior official with over 30 years of experience across public, private, and nonprofit sectors. Twice confirmed by the U.S. Senate, he served in senior roles under the 43rd, the 44th, and the 45th presidents and chaired the audit committee for a U.S. government agency. He obtained his education from Brighton, from Harvard, from Oxford, and from MIT. He has lectured at top institutions such as National Defense University, George Washington University, Georgetown, American University, and UBC, and California State University. This is just to name a few. Joining me from the Los Angeles area in California, hello, Bijan Kian. Happy New Year, sir.
Hello, Jian. It's good to be with you. But it's hard to say happy at a time where, people are on a beach having, normal life, getting shot at. When we have people living in fear for their lives every day, the world is not very happy, Xian. And I think we could very confidently say that 2025 is a year that we would we're happy to see gone. Let me put it that way. And 2026 is a year of hope.
Interesting. You trumped me on my first question. I mean, you're referencing Bondi Beach, that horrible massacre that happened 2 or 3 weeks ago, and
During Hanukkah, during the time that you're celebrating the victory of light over darkness, the victory of the end of the beginning of renewed freedom, and all of a sudden this happens. So yeah, it's not a very good. It wasn't a very good year.
Let me just say 2 steps back. First of all, I am happy to see you. It's always a pleasure to have you on the program and hear your unique and pointed perspectives. So thank you for doing this. I was going to lead by asking you how you would characterize them. You've given a little bit of a nod to it, but let me ask you how you would characterize this past year for Iranians. We had you on about a year ago, and you were, you do have an optimistic streak in terms of expecting or hoping to see change. Before I get to your hopes for 2026, how would you characterize the year for Iranians?
Jian, it's unfair to take just last year and ask the question, how would you characterize last year for Iranians? I think, to be fair, we must ask, how do you characterize the last 46 years for the Iranians? One word: horrible. Horrible. There is nothing good to find in this past almost half a century of nothing but death and disaster and just misery, one right after the other. Iranians have not had happy time under this government of Islamic Republic, and no wonder that the government themselves, do the polling. They come up with over 80%, 90%. Who knows? When you get a call from a government that says, "Do you like us or not?" What do you expect people to say in an environment like that? So if the official numbers are 80%, the real numbers are probably higher than that, given the fear of the people. They haven't had a normal life, Xi'an. Iranians haven't had a normal life, and it's so unfair. It's so unfair that about 3,000 families in Iran are happily living their normal lives. I mean, not normal, even abnormal lives. Like, flowers and cakes are delivered by helicopters at weddings. Such unequal, such unfair conditions. There are like palaces in the suburbs, and their young girls, just diving into the huge trash cans. Maybe they can find something to eat. That is the misery. It's not about politics, Jian. It's about incompetency. It's about ineptitude. It's about a bunch of people who are. I mean, somebody said, they asked Federico Fellini. They said, "How do you define fascism as an ideology?" He said, "Fascism is not an ideology. It's a technique used by all people who want to say, by force, I am right." And that's what's been going on in Iran for the
I'm
past
guessing.
46 years.
I'm guessing based on what you're saying, you're not a adherent. You're not a fan of this narrative we've seen in
I don't
particular.
think they'll I don't think they'll invite me to their birthday party,
Well,
Gian.
no, no. I was gonna ask you about the something we've seen in recent weeks. I mean, when we talk about characterizing the last year for Iranians, particularly inside Iran, you've seen organs like The Economist or BBC Persian uh, or BBC itself talking about how Iran is moderating and becoming and changing and becoming more of an open country and all of that. I'm guessing based on what you've just said, this is not a narrative that you subscribe to.
You know, I have a lot of respects for journalists. They have a tough job. They have to sort through a lot of noise to be able to find a small truth somewhere hidden in all of the mountains of confusing stuff. So I have a lot of respect for journalists, but I lose my respect for journalists when they get out of the business of reporting and they get into the business of news production. And news production apparently is what keeps the audience glued to the screen. Nobody's going to get excited if you have a report that nothing happened today, nothing bad happened today, everything's all right. Nobody's going to watch TV, and I can understand that challenge. So, in their zest to be different, journalists go to such extremes of balance that imagine this: you witness a grown man beating up on a child, and then you report on it. And the report goes something like this: the little child must have done something to make the adult angry. Therefore, we have to look at both sides of this
All
thing.
right.
You see, that's where I laugh and I get angry at the same time. But I won't name the. They know how I feel about them. But that's what really distorts the reality, and that's what gets us to incomplete truth. Incomplete truth is something that I think some of these media outlets choose to be that way. It didn't used to be that way. Walter Cronkite didn't balance things. He just reported what he saw, you know, and others. His name comes to my mind, but you're a great journalist, Xian. You
Thank
sort
you.
these things out
Thank
pretty,
you. But I mean, when you
pretty
say
good.
it's been 46 years of misery, there's folks out there who are saying things like, حال میکنن دیگه تو ایران الان. There's people are partying, they're living their lives. I mean, they don't wear the hijab anymore. It's
8,000 families are partying and living their lives, and the rest are not,
right.
Xian. The examples you see, first of all, don't believe your eyes. on everything you see. You see a lot of things. Did you see the video of you know, scantily clad young lady in the mall going around with uh, certain parts of her body visible that is not part of the culture in Iran? I heard that wasn't even in Iran. But anyway, who
Right.
knows? Who knows
Right.
what's true and what's not? Going back to the incomplete truth, Jian.
Talk to me about your hopes. What is your greatest hope for Iranians in 2026? So it's the first day of the year now, so you lay it out for us. What's your greatest hope?
You know, uh, hopes are about things that have not happened and a lot of uncertainty. But I like faith better than hope sometimes. I believe in things, and I believe Iranians deserve uh, better than this. And I also believe that change is on the way. I believe Islamic Republic as we know it is dead, without a doubt. What we see is nothing. And maybe this is what why BBC is seeing progress and happiness on the way and all that. Things are changing, definitely. Islamic Republic is dead, but freedom is not born yet. So we are in that period. And my belief is that in this coming year, what's going to happen is the armed forces are going to say, look, we're outmatched, outnumbered. We're not going to go fight the people. There's thousands of them for every single one of us. We're not going to win this war. My hope, my belief is that in 98,000 or more villages in Iran and 1,400 cities or more in the country, that the armed forces believe the end has arrived for one type of government and perhaps the time to surrender to the Iranian people. That's my belief. It will happen. It will happen because Jian and you know, if you look at this yourself, you probably come up with same or different conclusion. But I believe there is a general sense that things cannot go on, business as usual cannot continue. So it's not just a raw hope or something nice to say. I believe change has come, it will continue, and people of Iran are going to make that decisive moment happen. How? Is by just showing their power. You know, there's no fear in at 1 hour, one particular time, everyone in 98,000 plus villages and 1,400 plus cities come out at the same moment. Show your collective power. Nobody is going to arrest you. Nobody is going to nobody is going to come in and arrest 40 million people. It just cannot happen.
Bijan,
I believe that will happen.
should I guess that your greatest fear is that those 46 years of misery become 47 years for 2026?
No, uh, my greatest fear is that the world is not sympathetic to the misery of Iranian people or their desire for freedom above and beyond their own priorities. You know, Jian, you and I know that the test of rationale and rational thinking is that you serve your own personal interests first. And as you and I know, the world continues to pursue their own interest. In fact, it would be illogical to say that a country puts the interest of other people in other countries over and above their own. So it'd be illogical. So my fear is that others are not going to wait. My fear is that there is a madman named Ayatollah Khamenei who really believes that he speaks for God and he is God, and he will be continuing his behavior, and others may not tolerate that. And yeah, that's the fear. That's the fear that, you know, I believe if the leadership in Islamic Republic does not make a decision to change itself, surrender to the people, it's not that difficult. It requires very, very little thinking. because they have seen the end themselves. And my fear is that they will continue. And, war is a horrible thing. However, I have to tell you something. Maybe I am, you know, imagining too much. But war is not always airplanes flying over a country and dropping deadly bombs over people's heads. Wars are fought differently these days. Have you ever imagined the most devastating cyber attack a country can take? Imagine that. Imagine what happens when everything is jammed, nothing works. Nothing. Absolutely, life stops. And, that's going to be horrible. It's not going to be, you know, yeah, new wars are clean. They don't shoot people, but they could starve people
Yeah.
to death.
I'm always appreciative of having you on this program and sharing your insights and your perspective. Before I let you go, on a personal level, it's the first day of the year, and I'm going to hold you to this. On a personal level, are you someone who makes resolutions at New Year's time? And if so, well, whether you are or not, you're going to have to make one now. What is your resolution, or what is one of your resolutions for 2026, Bijan Kian?
I make resolutions every day, Jian, every day, because without resolutions, I don't know what to do. My daily resolution is that I'm not smart enough to figure out what's the most important thing to do. And I ask higher powers to guide me in what am I good for today, and then tell me what to do and help me get it done. So that's my daily resolution. But for 2026, it's a fancy thing. I don't do annual, year-end resolutions. But I will tell you what my daily resolution includes, and I will repeat that for 2026 is, Bijan, listen more, talk less, be more tolerant, and take the opposing views with a little bit of more kindness. Don't always react so much. A couple of days ago, I did something that I looked at it and I said, "Wow, did I do that?" So yeah, more tolerant, more understanding. You have 2 ears, listen twice. You have one mouth, talk once. That's
Listen more, talk less. I said resolution, not describe the impossible for Bijan Kian, but
I know.
but I look forward to it. I look forward to hearing you listen more to other opinions. Listen, you're great. You're somebody who, for many people out there, they really appreciate hearing your voice, and I think for those who disagree with you, they'll enjoy you listening to them and responding as well. Thank you so much for doing this. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you, Gian. You
Always a
have
pleasure.
a wonderful year, and with a lot of happiness is my wish for you and your family
Thank you,
and the world.
and the
And the
world.
world.
Talk soon.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to London, England now for our next guest. Another one of our favorites, Nazanin Ansari, is the managing editor of the Kayhan London and Kayhan Life publications. She's also worked with educational and charitable foundations, including Encyclopedia Iranica Foundation, the Friends of Persian Language Society at Cambridge University, the Iran Heritage Foundation, the Mihan Foundation, the Magic of Persia. Right now, Nazanin Ansari joins me from London. Hello, Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you and your audience, Gian. It's such a privilege and honor to be with you. And again, once again, start the new year with being present on your program.
Doesn't feel like a new year when I don't have see your face here and your wonderful energy. Tell me, I mean, Nazanin, you're in London, but you're kind of in the middle of things with Kayhan London and Kayhan Life. You usually have a good sense of what's happening, not just inside Iran, but with Iranians around the world. How would you characterize this past year? That would have been 2025 for Iranians.
For those Iranians back at home, it has not been a good year. When you look at politically, it is becoming more repressed. Economically, people are losing their buying power. The middle class is shrinking. Only a few days ago, last week, we celebrated Yalda, the winter solstice, which is an ode to hope and a hope that darkness leads to light. And that darkness does not last forever. And this holiday, this celebration, is central to the Iranian tradition, to the Persian culture. And Iranians globally celebrate it by buying fruits, lighting up fires, eating nuts, watermelon, pomegranate. Each of them symbolize something of basically transforming cold and darkness into warmth and light for the fire. For pomegranates with seeds and blood red color symbolizes life. Watermelon for bringing warmth, and for nuts, for patience, symbolize patience. But this year, what the reports we're receiving from Iran, people do not have the buying power to go and buy these ingredients. So it is not a very happy state in Iran. And year by year, we hope, and it's getting worse. So I hope that in this season of light that started with the celebration of Hanukkah, then off to Yalda, and then Christmas, and now New Year. Definitely, I hope that next year will be a better year.
Well, I'm going to get to your hope, but when you say that this past year has been one of increased repression in Iran, didn't I hear or see in The Economist that things are more moderate and opening up and everything's getting better in Iran?
Actually, if you listen to all of the economists,
I'm talking about the Economist magazine.
Yes,
they had a
yes,
particular
exactly.
narrative that I've seen in other media. To be fair, I shouldn't just be picking on them, but this notion that Iran is headed to a new liberal, moderate place, and no one's wearing a hijab, and everyone's having at a party, and all of that.
But that was part of the story. The other part, the full story, was that yes, the government is trying to provide these spaces for freedom, for expression, for women to go out without the headscarf, for celebrations, just to make sure that this feeling of despair does not blow up into something, dangerous for the regime. And this was the entire Economist report. Yes, you do see images coming from inside Iran in Western outlets that there are concerts out on the streets, that the regime is trying to bring back, old Persian heroes to celebrate them. But the Iranians know better. They know they are more mature. They know that this is the regime's tactic to basically to say that we have changed. It's a window dressing. Let's not forget, this is the regime that when after the revolution it came to power, it tried to really start the history of Iran from ground zero, saying that none of the Persian culture and tradition mattered, that they belonged to, that they never existed, that what is important are Islamic traditions. And they wanted to illegalize Charshambe Suri. They wanted to illegalize the celebration of Nowruz, of Yalda, but they failed because they cannot dampen the Iranian spirit. And that is what they're putting up against. I'm sure you have seen on social media not only the concerts that are organized by the regime, but musicians on the street that they go out and play music, and the crowd, dances and sings. But what you don't know is that the day after, they are arrested,
Yes.
and then we don't know what's happened to them.
Yeah. Well, the argument for that is they are arrested, but then they're let free, and that's just for show, and that in fact things are loosening up. But
I
yeah,
wish it was so.
well,
I
I mean,
wish it was so.
I mean, the statistics around executions in Iran alone this past year are incredibly sad and quite shocking, still leading the world in that category. So I'm not sure where the loosening up comes in terms of contextually. Tell me about your hopes. Tell me about, this is the first day of the year. We start each year affirmatively. It's a reset. What is your greatest hope for Iranians in 2026?
Well, my hopes for Iranians in 2026 is number one, end to the repression, freedom from the Islamic Republic, peace within and peace with neighbors, stability, economic prosperity. And I hope, and this is a hope for Iranians inside Iran and also Iranians abroad, especially our influencers, our VIPs, our political leaders. I hope that our society matures, that the values that define us as humane and worthy of being called human continue to flourish. And these are compassion, tolerance, forgiveness, honesty, and mutual respect.
And your greatest fears?
My greatest fears, unfortunately, is that repression and despair continues in Iran, that outside for us in the West, that in this climate of rooting out elements that have long bided their time to undermine our safety, openness, and respect for individual freedom, that in this atmosphere of rooting this out, we risk allowing our tactics, not, the tactics, the West risks allowing its tactics to betray the very values that we seek to defend.
On a personal level, I've been asking people this. I mean, I'm going to ask you what your resolution is, or one of your top resolutions for 2026. Are you someone who does resolutions at New Year's? Do you use this date as a reset for yourself?
Actually, I make resolutions every day.
You do too, huh? You're another person. Yeah. Somebody else has said that as well. So, I mean, so every morning you wake up and you have a resolution?
Every night.
Every night for the next day.
For the next day.
You write them down somewhere?
No, but it's always the same.
Oh.
I have been told by I was told since I was little not to pray for any material things, not to ask God for anything material, because you might get it, but then you might regret it. So my resolutions are more, as you can say, philosophical.
Well, it's not a prayer; it's a goal, right? A resolution is, I'm going to make sure that my hair is tidy each day from now on.
Cleanliness has always been part of the Persian culture.
I was using that as an example. I was looking at your wonderful hair. Give me
Thank you.
Do you have a particular goal? Do you have is there something Nazanin Ansari is going to try and do in 2026 that she hasn't been doing? A corrective, a resolution, a decision?
Every day I practice this.
Give me one.
Continue.
Give me one.
Okay. To guard against negativity.
Oh.
Because it is not only self-perpetuating, but it breeds despair.
Oh.
And it immobilizes constructive thinking. That's number one.
How do you, that's a great one. How do you do that? What's your daily attempt to try and mitigate that negativism?
Well, I breathe. I take time. I try to be more patient. I try to be more understanding and forgiving. And I try to not have a big, sense of who I am, that it is not about me, but us. I've always worked with teams. I've always been in communities with in family, whatever, it is not only about me. It is together we stand, divided we fall. And this is where I come from. And Jian, I think after being on this earth for as long, and I won't tell you how long I've been, but I'm in the golden age of my life. I have learned that it is not, that happiness comes first from within, and to not to be happy and have a good conscience. So for me, that is very important, and to be humane. So in that sense, I have good thoughts, and this is something that I always, every day, and a few times a day, because I'm not perfect. If I was perfect, I would join the angels in heaven. To have good thoughts, good words, and good deeds, help others, take care of myself, spend more time with my family, with my friends, enjoy life, see the glass half full, and more importantly, have faith and trust that the best is yet to come.
Nazanin Ansari, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for making the time. Happy New Year to you and your loved ones.
Happy New
And
Year
I hope
to
to
you
see you in
too.
person soon.
I hope so too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
This is Roqe episode 403, Iranian hopes, fears, and resolutions for 2026. All right, let's get back to Los Angeles for our next guest. He is a multi-talented man, but he's also multi-talented, celebrated for his comedy, acting, podcasting, activism, Tehran Vongasri. He holds a degree in international politics and economic theory from George Mason University. He has consistently advocated for freedom and democracy for Iran. You probably know him from YouTube and podcasts and live shows and Clubhouse, but you also know him from his appearances on Roqe right now. Joining us from LA, Tehran. Hello, sir. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. When you talk to me when I'm in LA, it's Tehrangeles. Just remember that. It's no longer Los Angeles. It's officially Tehrangeles when I'm in the city.
I don't know if this is just for 2026, but I think you've outdone yourself in terms of self-marketing. You've got a Tehran hat on, the T-shirt or the sweater, and the backdrop. I don't think there's any more of you to sell on this short appearance.
See, it's the idea is I'm not just branding me. It's the whole Tehran that I'm trying to carry on my back and push that in the American face, just to remind them that we are Iranian American and not just Iranian.
Look
American.
Look how you turned that around. You
That's
made
how
it.
it works.
You made it about the community. I love it.
I could have easily been a Tyrone, Jian. I could have been a Tyrone, but I was a Tehran for a reason, and so I'm going to carry that torch as long as I can.
You'll always be Tyrone to me. Tehran June, I'm so happy to have you on the show as ever. Tell me, first of all, and you can answer this in any way you want, as we've been asking people throughout the show, how would you characterize the last year for Iranians at home, around the world? Answer it however you wish.
So the last year for Iranians or non-Iranians, I would just characterize it as chaotic. It has been a chaotic year. 2025 was the fastest, shortest, longest year that I've ever experienced myself, and I feel like the world felt the same. It's like being on the cusp or grip in a scary movie where you're opening the door but you don't know what's behind it yet. And that's what it's felt the whole year, especially for Iranians. They've gone through so much trauma, so much drama, and who knows what's behind that door?
You think the chaos was more this year than ever? I mean, the lot of the last few decades for Iranians has been that kind of chaos and trauma you've been talking about, right?
So, interestingly enough, it's not always about what actually happens. It's about what's about to happen. That anticipation is even more entangled when it comes to chaos. When you're waiting for something to happen, when you're waiting to fall over, when it happens, you just deal with it. You just either get up off the ground or lie there still. But when you're about to fall over and off that cliff, that's the scariest moments of your life. And so that's what I feel like it has been for 2025 for Iranians and in many ways the whole world.
That's a great perspective. That's actually really interesting. We did, one of the guests we just had on a little earlier, Professor Fatollah Nejad. His turn of phrase was good. He said the old has died out, but the new hasn't come yet. So we're in that stalemate, that waiting period, as you say, for however you define that, but inevitably for some kind of change, right?
Exactly. And so hopefully it's change for the better, but change for the worst is also on the horizon. And because of that, you don't know what the day looks like.
Okay, before you go further, let me put it very directly then to you, as I've been asking others. What is your greatest hope? I think we even gave these. I never give questions in advance, but I think we gave these to you guys in advance. So I think you've had some time to marinate on this. You're a very smart
let me
guy.
help you, Jian Jun. I didn't read a single thing that was sent to me. This popped up on my Google Calendar, and I was like, gotta click it. So,
even better.
Preparation's not my strong suit.
Well, what is your, off the top of your head then, off the top of your heart, what is your greatest hope for Iranians in the coming year?
I think my greatest hope is, let's begin with the basics. My greatest hope is that Iranians have access to clean water, that Iranians have access to electricity. But the overall hope, I think, for myself and most of the diaspora and many people inside Iran itself, is for greater change when it comes to infrastructure, systems, and most importantly, the government itself. That is the change we've all been waiting for. That's the door we hope we're opening. We hope we're opening the door to freedom and not one to more tyranny and oppression.
It gets a little tired each year to sort of ask people, do you think this is the year, in terms of some kind of real inflection point or something like that. But were you to predict, again, and nobody has a crystal ball, but would you say that you're anticipating that change you just spoke about happening in 2026?
Well, hope and faith are always tiring. If it were easy, then everyone would do it. Everyone would ascend to heaven or win that award or achieve that goal. That's how that works. So do I think the change has happened? I think the change has already happened. I just think that slow and steady wins the race. I don't think change happens overnight, especially not change for the good.
What's your greatest fear for Iranians for 2026?
My greatest fear for Iranians is that things not only continue the way they have, but they continue down this downward spiral, and it spirals out of control. My fear is that there is not only no revolution, but no evolution, and in fact, no solution. That's my biggest fear.
What's interesting is, maybe it's implicit in the kind of questions, but I've said to everybody, answer this however you want. And when we talk about what's your greatest hope, say, for Iranians, no one so far has said something like, I'm really hoping that Iranians continue to have success in the cultural sector in Tehran, in Los Angeles, or like continue to be great developers in Toronto, or we all answer the question with respect to Iran and what's happening inside Iran. That's kind of interesting, huh? I mean, you're a diaspora kid like me, but we define the hopes and fears for Iranians by inside Iran still, not even in our own communities that are hundreds of thousands strong of Iranians.
That's because our communities outside of Iran have opportunities and access that the ones in Iran don't. And we wish that for everyone, especially inside Iran. We want them to have the same freedoms, the same opportunities, the same hopes and dreams that we're able to achieve outside, but within. And that's something that's always going to be the blood of every true Iranian.
Yeah, I would also say, I'm sure you would agree that we're all affected by what happens inside Iran. Either because we directly have family there or because it continues to be something that's at the forefront of literally affecting the lives of Iranians in the diaspora as well, right?
Well, we're always going to care. Iran, for me, it's my fatherland, not even my motherland. It is my fatherland, but it's raging through my veins. And most importantly, it's something that I have voluntarily carried on my back when I wear my name proudly on my hat in the United States. And this doesn't mean that I'm any less American. No, I am as much, maybe even more so American, but I'm also Iranian. And it doesn't mean I'm any less Iranian. It means I'm as much or even more so Iranian as well.
So, are you somebody who generally are you a kind of person who does resolutions? Do you see the new year as a reset, and you use that opportunity to sort of make goals for yourself, or do you see that as kind of superficial and twee?
I always make resolutions. It doesn't need to be New Year's. It doesn't need to be a specific Monday. The only New Year's resolution that I hold very true and dear are the Nowruz ones, because for some reason, Nowruz is very magical to me. But when it
Okay,
comes to
give me one for today. Give me one
New
for
Year's resolution,
yes, sir.
I would say there's always been a phrase that sticks in my mind. تعداد تعداد آدم تو دنیا زیاده متاسفانه انسانی که کمه, which means that there are a lot of people in the world, but unfortunately it's humanity that's lacking. And so for this year, as every year, I try to be a better person. It doesn't always work, but I do try to be a better person and add some light and shine to the world. And that's my resolution for my personal self, and hopefully for everyone I come in
Do you
contact
actually
with.
have a practical application for that? It's a wonderful idea. I mean, do you have a, this is what I'm going to do, start to do to kind of achieve that better person humanity that you're talking about?
I try to care more, but I also try to act on caring. So I try to put my personal time, money, effort where my mouth is, which is why I try to stay as active as I can within the community and within the principles that I find define my personal life. And that is truly my hope for Iran and Iranians, because I see that the next generation and the generation after that, they carry that same torch and that same belief. And they will ultimately be the change that is the wave for Iran.
Nice answers, man. Thank you so much for doing this. Are you personally excited about a new year?
Sure. And I'll tell you something about my resolution, Jian. It's easier to be a better human being than it is to go to the gym. So that's why I kind of choose that every year. Like, I know I'm not going to go, like, I'll say I'll go to the gym.
I tried to get you to be more specific, and you darrafty, like you were
Yeah, of
able
course,
to, like,
because I'll say like the gym is out of the question. I'd rather try to save the world. It's easier to save the world than actually stick to a gym schedule.
actually, you're kind of a buff guy. Last time I saw you, you were like,
Well,
you're
naturally fit. That's where the half black part comes in. It's great. It's just I'm naturally genetically fit. It's an amazing thing. I'm tall. I have hair. It's a superpower, really. I have all of the powers, none of the weaknesses.
you
It's
could have
great.
been Tyrone. Just think of
I
it.
could have
You
been
could
a
have
Tyrone, but I have been, and I always will be a Tehran.
Much love to you and your loved ones for the new year. Thank you so much for doing this, brother.
Thank you.
See you. All right, this is Roqe episode 403, Iranian hopes, fears, and resolutions for 2026. Let's go to Vancouver for our next guest. She is a teacher and the person behind the popular Instagram page Learning English with Sherry in it. Shahrazad Kazemi teaches English vocabularies, grammar, and correct pronunciation. She was born and raised in Tehran, and she worked as a financial analyst and category manager, but she always knew her passion was teaching English, and she has been doing it for years now and right now. Joining us from Vancouver, Shahrazad Sherry Kazemi. Hello, Happy New Year to you and your loved ones.
Hello, and Happy New Year to you. Thanks for inviting me today.
So nice to see you here, and thank you for joining us on New Year's Day.
Of course.
So the question I've been asking everyone, the first one, since we've just ended a year, how would you characterize 2025 for the year that just passed for Iranians?
Yeah, so it was a kind of like a mixed thing, because we've unfortunately we've experienced war and violence in our country, but also it was maybe a good day I hope for a lot of people, and I really hope that 2026 will be a year without any war or free from violence, and people like my people can live a life that they truly deserve. From an immigration perspective, I also hope that all Iranians who are living abroad have found the peace and fulfillment and happiness they've been searching for. And they can also follow their dreams in 2026 and fulfill their dreams. Holidays can be a little bit difficult for us immigrants because everybody else is celebrating with their families and we are far from away from ours and can be a lonely time. Even so, we can support one another and we can remain strong and optimistic, and we can move forward towards our dreams.
So, wow, you said a lot. You said you you gave us the year that was. You gave us the hopes. You put it all in there. What's something more specific, if you can? I mean, obviously, you say we hope for peace and for nonviolence, etc. What's
Yeah.
something specific that you hope for Iranians in the coming year?
I think it would be like sense of happiness and peace. I think this is the most essential thing that we really want to feel because at the end of the day, we are searching happiness, we're searching peace, right? It can come through your job, your work, or the place you're living in. So that is my biggest wish. That's my biggest wish, like everybody else. So I think that's going to be like the biggest thing.
What's something that you've talked about some of the positive things that you hope to see for Iranians in the coming year. What's your greatest fear for
Yes.
2026?
So, like everybody else, my greatest and deeply, my I'm deeply afraid of war, violence, instability in my country. And from an immigration perspective, my fear is that some people rush the decision of moving to another country without proper planning and without thinking thoroughly, and they just, impulsively they want to move countries, and this can ultimately affects in like their life and their happiness in the long run.
Hmm. So you fear that people might immigrate or emigrate to a country like Canada without being properly prepared. Do you think that's something
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is there a reason in particular you're worried about that for this year?
Yeah, so you see, we witness instability in the country. So we're like, you know what? I'm gonna go. I don't care. I don't have any plans. I just want to go. I just want to move. But I'm seeing people like immigrants here because I've been working with immigrants, and they're like, we're feeling lonely. We don't have any plans, and we haven't thought this life would be like. And I'm seeing it from other angles here. So that's my fear that because of instability and things that are happening, people just jump to this.
Do you think it was more planned out before? When people would
Yes, exactly.
uh,
Yes, for sure. Like people want to study, they want to pursue higher education or for jobs and more like planned out compared to recent years, which is like more impulsive and they're just and it's a very like it's a life-changing decision, and we should think twice before we make that decision.
I thought your greatest hope for Iranians for 2026 would be to learn more English
Yes,
through learning
for
with
sure.
Sherry.
Yes, definitely. That would be like, so it's going to be like my New Year's resolution,
Oh, okay. We're
right?
gonna get to your. Okay, well, then let's do this
Yes.
then. If on a personal level, you
Yeah.
first of all, are you someone who does resolutions? Do you do that?
Y-
You make
Yeah.
lists of things that you for a new year.
Yeah, but it's not like changing every year. I usually have two main goals every year,
Okay.
and I'm gonna be better at it every year. So like I have a professional side of work, which is helping immigrants to be able to integrate to the society, to be able to feel more rooted and connected to the society by teaching English, teaching them the culture and everything. and also to create content for immigrants to make them feel seen by or relate to. Sometimes, us immigrants are home alone and you're just watching a
Mm.
video on social media and we're like, I feel validated. This is what I'm feeling right
But
now. And
you're already doing those things.
yeah,
Well, you
and I
can't have a
really want to
resolution
continue.
about a thing that you can't resolve to do something you're already doing.
No, I mean, I'm gonna be more connected.
Ah,
So you never feel like you're connected 100%. Sometimes you haven't tapped into many areas that you have always wanted to, right? So you want to feel more connected and you want to support your community more because sometimes you feel like you haven't supported them enough,
hmm.
right?
That's actually an interesting way to put it. With learning English with Sherry, that's got done so well in recent years. What's one thing that you would resolve in a new year that you'd really want to? How would you build that platform? And I mean, how it seems like it does really well already.
Yeah,
What's a way
yeah.
that you
I
think you
mean,
want to keep growing
yeah,
it?
my previous focus was more on the language aspect of it, but now it's going to be more about the immigration part
Hmm.
and that process. And every year is different, and it's going to be like more like a guideline how you might feel the first year you move, the second year, the third year, the fifth year, and etc. So it's going to be like a roadmap or a guideline that in what immigrants should know before moving and how the feelings will change and evolve. And it's going to be like a roadmap for immigrants, more on like more feelings and emotional level than just the language part.
Somebody was recently telling me that inside Iran and in the
Yeah,
Iranian community, I guess they were talking about Tehran, but a lot of people use English words. They
yeah,
integrate English words into while they speak Persian.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
do you see that as a trend in 2026 that would keep increasing?
Like as a bad thing or as a
No,
good
no.
thing?
I mean, I'm
Mm.
actually not putting a value judgment on it, but
Yeah,
of course, there are some people who worry about
yeah.
the Persian language eroding because there's a lot of English that gets thrown in
Hmm.
there. But do you see this as a trend where English words get used in vernacular and in colloquial conversations amongst Iranians?
Yeah, of course. Sometimes there is no equivalent from English to Farsi and vice
Mm.
versa, right? So you can say the word like in English, but you can also explain it into Farsi. And if there is an equivalent, for sure, but sometimes the English word comes first. And it's going to be hard to stop and think about the translation, and then you're going to reduce the fluency even in Farsi. So I mean, whatever like you feel comfortable with, I think it's going to be okay. But also, you can explain like what this means if you're speaking Farsi and you're just throwing some English words in. Yeah, so that's going to be like trendy, I guess, especially with the new generation, and
Mm.
it's inevitable. But I think we completely have a lot of words in Farsi that we still can preserve and keep our culture. So there is no fear and concern, I think, in that regard.
It's good to have you on this New Year's Day. Your answer to the resolutions was work related stuff. Do you not have any
Yeah.
personal? I mean,
Yes.
I want to go to bed earlier. I want to make sure I eat more
Yeah,
greens.
for
I don't know
sure.
what.
Yeah, yeah. On the personal level, it's always, I really want to be able to connect with more people from other cultures, to learn from other
Hmm.
cultures, to broaden my knowledge, to be able to be culturally educated myself, and also to introduce my culture and traditions and values to non-Iranians, to show them we have a very rich and huge culture. And it's interesting to see that how cultures are difficult on the surface and yet very similar at their core. And we're all humans and we're very similar to each other. And it's very interesting to me to exchange cultural things, cultural values.
Nice to have you on the program. I
Of
wish
course.
you and your loved ones and your family a very, very positive New Year, and glad to ring in the New Year with you today.
Thank you so much for having me, and Happy New Year to you too.
Merci, Sherjan. Talk to you soon.
Yes.
Bye bye.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much.
All right. This is Roqe episode 403, Iranian hopes, fears, and resolutions for 2026 on this New Year's Day. Finally, let's go to right here in Toronto for our final guest. She is no stranger to you all as a longtime Roqe team member and the voice of the Roqe Roundup. She is a political science guru, an MC of many Iranian events, and the former president of the Iranian Students Association at York University. Do not forget that. Pegah Ganji is joining us right now. Hello. Happy New Year to you and your family.
Hi, Jian. Happy New Year to you, too.
Nice to have you doing this. Okay, so as you probably know, we've been asking all these folks who've come on as guests on this New Year's Day, first of all, how you would characterize briefly the last year for Iranians. What was 2025 like, do you believe?
I think it was, the word I always tend to use, the Iranian community at large, is resilient. And I think this year is no different. I think this year, what I would add to that is there was kind of this undertone of quiet defiance, because I know in comparison to the time of the uprisings and everything that we saw over the last few years, a lot of people have said, oh, there's not much going on and it's quieted down and there's burnout and there's loss of hope and all of these other things. But I would still say that there has been this ongoing quiet defiance going on. And we've still maintained some level of optimism, I like to think, and stayed just as resilient. So I think those would be the key words I'd use to describe Iranians in the past year.
And how, when you marinate on this question of your greatest hope for Iranians around the world, what comes to mind?
First and foremost, I would say safety, because, we have seen so much atrocity and so much wrongdoing over the last couple of years. So the first thing I would say is safety for Iranians. But then also I would say more hope.
Inside Iran, or you mean around the everywhere?
Yeah. I would say inside Iran mostly. I'm sure there have been instances outside of Iran too, but definitely inside of Iran. But aside from that, I would just say continued hope and the ability to persevere against everything that we've seen happen.
So your hope for Iranians in 2026 is safety and continued hope. Your hope is hope.
My hope is hope. Exactly. Because I think once we lose that, then really we've got nothing else. And I have heard so much of that this last year, where there have been moments where people have lost that. And I think if there ever is going to be any change, we will need that hope for sure.
And what's your greatest fear for Iranians in 2026?
Some of the absolutely devastating things that we saw in the past inside of Iran, with whether it's the crackdowns, it's the executions, it's the torture, the imprisonments. The list goes on. Not to mention that now we're also dealing with, or have been dealing with, the economic uncertainties, the things like lack of water, resources, things like that. So I would say that's a pretty long list of fears, but they're there.
When I ask you about how the last year was for Iranians, and I ask you about hopes and fears, your answer was, I don't want to say a political one, but your answer is about Iran and as you've talked about atrocities. And do you think you represent most Iranians that still is at the forefront of mind, or would people honestly answer about, in a different way about their hopes and fears for Iranians?
I think it's unfair to say that it's at the forefront of everyone's mind, or even mine for that matter, because I'm sure, we all have things going on in our own personal lives and so on and so forth. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention that it is still on everyone's mind, every Iranian's mind at the very least. I don't think a day goes by where, something reminds us of everything that has happened over the last 40 some odd years, not even just in the last few years. I was looking at friends of mine's Instagram posts and social media posts a couple of nights ago for Shab Yanda. And even then, when people were celebrating Yanda, there was murmurs and messages and notes of exactly that, light will triumph darkness. And just these reminders, I think they're kind of built into our lives now and have been for 40 some odd years. So it's almost impossible to say that they're not somewhere on our mind.
I was just thinking the analog would be saying, I hope that my family is safe this year. And you might not be obsessing about that 24/7 every day of the year, but you know that in the big picture, that's what you really want, not the small things we deal with each day.
Exactly.
Okay. So I think you are the kind of person who I've been asking everybody if they're the kind of person, but I think in your case, I know you're the type of person that has resolutions, that does New Year's resolutions. So on this first day of the year, can you share a or the New Year's resolution for Pegah Ganji for 2026?
Well, okay, on a very selfish and personal level, I will tell you what my personal resolution is, and that is further career development for me to get back to Toronto. So that's what I'm working on this year, is trying to.
That's actually my New Year's resolution, for Pegah to come back to Toronto.
Yeah, I am working hard to see when that will happen. But of course, aside from that, like you said, just the same as most other people, get back to the gym and spend more time with family and stay consistent and all of those somewhat cliche resolutions as well.
It's good to have you here. I look forward to having you more regularly back on Roqe in 2026. I mean, you're not in Ottawa right now, so no need to be that. What's that thing that we do on the first day of Nowruz, Saat Tahvil? Whatever you're doing at that point, you're going to do for the rest of the year. So here you are in Toronto. And obviously, we're going to see you on February 19th for Roqe Live 6 too.
I will be there. Looking forward to it.
Take care, Pegah. Happy New Year again to your family.
Happy New Year.
Bye.
Bye.
There you go. Around the world with 8 prominent guests. Thank you to all of them for joining this special New Year's Day episode of Roqe, sharing their hopes, their fears, their resolutions. Looking forward to another year here. Wishing you all and your families an amazing new year ahead and the best for the Iranian people, both inside Iran and around the world. Thank you for being our audience. Thanks to the amazing team. Oh, this is full time for Roqe for today. Thanks to the amazing team who put this show together each week, each year. Super Parisa, Savvy Roham, Tina, the photo and video queen, and talented Anahita. Special thanks to Charming Kimia, Smart Pegah, Methodical Kaveh, and the Rising Keon. Thank you to all of you out there for supporting us and sharing our content. So please go to any of our platforms, podcast platforms, or YouTube. If you're not already watching us on YouTube, you can subscribe for free. Press the like button. We appreciate it. Remember, Roqe Live 6 coming to the Richmond Hill Center for the Performing Arts on February 19th. Tickets are available now. Go to our bio on Instagram to find them at Roqe Media. You can find me on Instagram at Jian Ghomeshi. And as ever, in the words of Uncle Behrang, Mizun Bashi.